Welcome everyone. Today we will learn cavity wall construction as a part of second semester syllabus suggested by AKTU. Myself, Architect Kanika Verma and Architect Zainab from APJ School of Architecture Planning will be explaining different attributes of cavity wall construction. Broadly, this lecture has been divided into 4 segments. The first 2 segments focuses on the basic understanding of construction, definition, and various purposes and function a cavity wall serves. Second segment talks about advantages and disadvantages of cavity wall construction. Third segment will be explaining individual component of construction, their role, and other important consideration during construction. The fourth and the final segment will illustrate construction details of cavity wall assembly at different levels like foundation, windows, other openings, etc. Now I would request Architect Zainab to explain the first 2 segments of the lecture.
Thank you, ma'am. Taking it forward from here, now, first of all, we should know what actually is a cavity wall. As the name itself speaks, that the wall has something to do with the cavity or a hollow space. According to the National Building Code of India 1983, a wall comprising 2 leaves, each leaf being built of masonry units and separated by a cavity and tied together with metal ties or bonding units is called a cavity wall. So here you can see in the picture there are 2 leaves. One leaf is this one and the other leaf is this one. These 2 leaves are sometimes also called as skins. Actually, they are the 2 walls. One is the exterior wall and one is the interior wall. And these 2 walls are bonded together or tied together with some ties, metal ties. These are the metal ties. And sometimes they are tied together with bonding bricks also. So here we get an idea that there are 3 basic components of a cavity wall, which can be an outer wall, or you can say an outer leaf or the skin, an inner wall or the inner leaf or the skin, and the metal ties, right? So as per the National Building Code, the structure is made up of 2 leaves that behave as one structural unit, and the space between the leaves is either kept as a continuous cavity or it is filled with waterproofing material or non-load bearing insulating material. So here you can see there is a cavity which is continuous, but sometimes this cavity can be filled with some waterproofing material or any insulating material meant for thermal insulation or sound insulation as per the requirement, and you can opt this option as well. Now, before learning anything, we should first know from where it comes. So if you see, this concept is not a new concept. Historically, this type of construction was observed in ancient Greek and Roman structures also. It still exists at the Greco-Roman town of Pergamum. As you can see in this picture, this wall is actually built in a cavity type. It was first built in the United States late in the 19th century. Just giving you a brief idea about the climate of United States so you can have an understanding that why we are using this kind of walls. In United States, the climate is continental type. It has very cold winters, often frigid, and hot summer, sometimes very hot, with a different season duration depending on latitude and distance from the sea. So for them, it was an excellent idea to use this kind of wall for thermal insulation, for resistance to sound transmission, for high resistance to fire, and for superior resistance to rain penetration also, because dampness is a big issue in our buildings. Now, when you see the two walls, you must be thinking, is there any difference in elevation, or the two walls looks the same from outside? So here we have put the elevation of a solid wall and a typical cavity wall also. So here you can see the elevational difference of the two walls. This is a typical solid brick wall, and you can clearly identify that this wall is built in Flemish bond style, because you can see one stretcher, one header, one stretcher, one header, and the same goes in the other courses as well. On the contrary, when you see the cavity wall elevation, here only stretchers can be seen, because it may be the outer wall and it may be just a half brick thick wall. So here you can see that the stretcher bond is followed. You can see stretchers, 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 and the same goes on for the other courses as well. So when you see the elevation of the solid wall and the typical cavity wall, you can easily identify which is a solid wall and which is a typical cavity wall. Before learning any topic, it is also really important to know why behind it. So we will see here the functions and advantages of this wall. The basic function of this is to preclude or to prevent from the external conditions. That may be rain, and rain will give you moisture, efflorescence, dampness, and all that. You may prevent the interiors from noise pollution, from sound. You may want to prevent the interior from the heat or fire, right? We will also discuss about the appearance and the adaptability of this wall as well, whereas these two are the secondary factors. If you can see, there are two walls. We have put two sections here. The one section is of a solid brick wall and the other section has been cut through a cavity wall. Now suppose if you have a 4-inch masonry or a solid wall, this type of wall, so it is not impervious for penetration of moisture. They let the dampness into the buildings from outside to inside. See here, when it rains, the water falls on this surface of the wall and then it penetrates from here to inside of the wall, and then you get dampness here, right? Because brick has a tendency of more water penetration since it's a porous material. But when you see in the other section, here is a section of a cavity wall, right? So when it rains, the moist in the water falls on this surface of the wall, and from here when it tries to reach to the interior of the wall, but it finds a hinder in its way, because here is a cavity. So what happens when nothing can go against the gravity? So what happens, the moisture then drops down, and when it's dropped down, then it is taken out from the weep holes, and this process solves the problem of moisture penetration in inner walls as well. Now, one more important function is that it reduces efflorescence to a great extent. Just reminding you students that we studied efflorescence earlier also. It is basically a deposit of soluble salts and bases, usually white in color, that sometimes appear on the surfaces of masonry or concrete construction. You can see here, you can see here, since the cavity wall breaks the passage of moisture penetrating from outside to inside, it saves the wall from efflorescence as well. It is actually a concern of aesthetic purpose. Now, one important function of a cavity wall is thermal insulation. Thermal means heat. So when the rays of the sun falls on the exterior wall of the building, it gets heated. And heat has a tendency to transfer its heat energy to the surface in contact. And that is why all the surfaces which are in contact becomes heated. But here the contact has been broken by a cavity which has air in it, and this acts as a non-conductor of heat and hence minimizes the transmission of heat from the outer leaf to the inner leaf, right? Thus it helps in maintaining the thermal insulation of a premise. This helps you in keeping warm in winter and cool in summer. For example, if you see this image is of a cavity wall with air as thermal insulation, right? Here you can see the outside temperature is 45 degrees Celsius, but the inside temperature is 35 degrees Celsius. Why? Because this the moving air flushes the heat accumulated in between the walls. To its enhancement, we can also fill the cavity with some insulating materials which has heat resisting properties, which absorbs and it does not allow heat to transfer from any end. So here you can see the outside temperature is 45 degrees Celsius, but the inside temperature is 25 to 30 degrees Celsius, which is very comfortable for us. The other important function for choosing a cavity wall over a solid wall is for sound insulation. Actually, actually we can say it's noise pollution. We don't want the exterior noise to come to our interiors. For this, we need to have a little idea how sound transmits, how sound behaves. So whenever a sound is emitted and it meets an obstacle in its way, so three things happen. A percentage of it gets transmitted, whereas a percentage of it is absorbed by this obstacle and some percentage is reflected back, right? So in a cavity wall, both component of solid and void help to reduce the sound transition because they act as an obstacle. First of all, the two leaves work like two obstacles which absorbs the sound, and then air gaps effectively decouple the main wall assembly, or you can say it acts as a cushion for absorbing sound, and this reduces the ability of low frequency sounds to easily transmit through the cavity wall. We can also provide with acoustic insulating material, and then it becomes more efficient also. Now, if we look on to the appearance and adaptability of a cavity wall, then it actually accommodates alterations in the facade very easily. Since the internal walls are not hindered from any changes, if you want to change the facade, if you want to change the exteriors of your building, there are two walls. If you are modifying, if you are doing any modification to the exterior of the wall, to the exterior wall, then nothing is being hindered from inside because there are two walls. But these appearance and adaptability are basically the secondary factors to be taken care of. There are various advantages of a cavity wall over a solid brick wall by virtue of its composition. Like, it gives you strength, it's having less weight, it is stable, it is durable, it is economic, and it saves energy as well. If you look onto the strength of a cavity wall, so you must be thinking that since there is a cavity and there are two single leaves, so the strength of this wall may be less with that of a solid brick wall. But no, there is no compromise in the strength. Although for strengthening, both walls are tied at regular intervals by placing wall ties, and this also maintains existing wall thickness as well. Like, you can see the thickness of this solid brick wall is 1.5 brick, right? And the thickness of this cavity wall is also about 1.5 brick thick, since half brick of exterior wall, half brick of interior wall, and approximately half brick thick cavity is left here, right? Since less number of bricks or are used here in cavity wall, or you can say less solid thickness of wall, the loads on the foundation are considerably reduced, right? And this is durable also. And if you look onto the economic aspect of this cavity wall, then the construction cost of a 275 cavity wall cost less to construct than a 328 solid wall. It is actually cheaper than exterior or interior wall insulation as well. If we talk about the economic aspect of a cavity wall, then the construction cost of a cavity wall is about 20% less than the solid wall cost for equivalent massing. It also saves energy. Now you may question, how can this possible that a cavity wall is saving energy? Now, in a solid brick wall, when the outer surface is heated, then it gets transmitted to the interior wall as well, right? And when it's when the interiors of your home is heated, then you need more of air conditioning. But in case of a cavity wall, since it's protecting you from thermal insulation, it's giving you thermal insulation, so the interior of your home is less affected by the exteriors, so you will be needing less of air conditioning, right? So, and what happens, the cavity here acts as a damp barrier, so it lead to reduces the cooling cost of the building as well. But with so many advantages, there are certain limitations also. For building a cavity wall or for construction of a cavity wall, highly skilled masons or laborers are required. Even it requires good supervision also with expert designers during its construction phase. There are some sensitive openings in a cavity wall from where water can penetrate, and these are places where we provide openings, right? So these places require installation of a vertical damp proof course. There are other limitations as well, like it gives thermal bridging problems, and this occur here due to the settlement and saturation of a cavity fill. Another problem is a wall tie corrosion, right? Cavity insulation makes the outer brick leaf colder and therefore it becomes wetter. The condition can speed up the rusting of the wall ties. Alternatively, if the ties have to be replaced, there is no satisfactory way of refilling the holes further in the insulation, whatever was the insulating material. There are significant number of buildings with mortar droppings on ties within the cavity, which result in penetrating dampness. Right. Now we will learn about the construction technique of a cavity wall. I would request you, Kanika ma'am, to please continue from here.
Thank you, Zainab. Now let's discuss in details various components of cavity wall construction one by one. The first and foremost component are the two leaves itself, which are basically inner solid and outer solid element of cavity wall. These two leaves may or may not be of same material, as both serve separate purpose in overall composition. Generally, the outer wall, which faces all the external conditions like wind pressure, rain, dust, dirt, sun rays, etc., also serve an important function of providing aesthetic to the building. That is why the outer skin has to be selected very carefully. It must withstand all the external condition and must not deteriorate very easily. Plus, it should serve the purpose of aesthetic as per the design scheme selected by the designer or the client. However, in comparison to outer leaf, the inner leaf, which is more safe and secured from any direct condition, it generally participates in load transfer and keeping the wall assembly attached to rest of the structure. It can also use for aesthetic purpose whenever the designer or client wants to keep it exposed or unplastered. It may also participate in function like absorbing sound which are generated internally, means within the house, and resist the heat to going from inside to outside by using that inner leaf. There is an important aspect of construction for inner leaf for you to consider is that to keep the inner wall flushed with the inner side of the beam to avoid any tuck in the room, which you can clearly see in the photograph that the beam is being shown or clearly visible from the inside, as the inner leaf has kept on the outer edge of the beam. So in this case, the leaves are outer and inner half brick thick walls. However, cavity walls can be constructed using various types of bricks and blocks available in market. And details will change as per the size of brick or block, materials, quality, hollowness, texture, etc. An example for your reference has been shown in the slide where hollow brick with concrete brick has been used for construction, making a cavity wall construction. So for brick cavity wall, the suggested building code for the most basic construction says that it should be of 1 brick thick, means each leaf or wall is half brick thick, which can be separated with a cavity or a gap of 60 to 70 mm in case of a residential building of 2 stories. One can increase the thickness to use 1 brick thick wall as inner leaf whenever there is an extra load to be taken care of. Another alteration suggested is that to use the stone blocks in front or outer leaf for appearance purposes, then the outer leaf of stone can go from 103 to 206 mm thick with half brick thick inner wall with a cavity of 50 to 75 mm thickness. So this clearly shows that the overall thickness of cavity wall is highly dependent on the wall material, sizes available to achieve various purposes. One can have a stone wall to a brick wall internally, a brick to brick wall construction, a stone to concrete block construction, a concrete in front and a brick in the inner leaf. There can be various types and configuration for cavity wall construction. The second important component is the connector between the two leaves, which called as wall tie. What is the purpose of wall tie? As it is mentioned in the slide, the first and prime purpose of the tie is to keep the two walls together. But by doing so, it eventually becomes bridge which let various conditions to pass on from one end to another. Therefore, the second purpose suggests that the design and detail of the wall tie should be such that it must avoid bridging external intrusion to inner skin. What does this mean? It means, let's take an example of rain. If the external wall get drenched in rain, the water start penetrating on the inner edge of the wall and started approaching the cavity. But as there is no physical medium to let that moisture or water go further on, it started going downwards by virtue of gravity. But wherever there is a wall tie which are given in between in various places, the wall tie behaves like a physical passage through which the droplets of water started moving towards the inner wall and make it wet. Similarly, in the case of heat, the heated external wall pass on the heat first to the metal ties, and then the heated metal tie pass on that heat to the inner wall, brick by brick. So there has to be certain features and aspects of wall tie which stop this kind of a transition to happen. Now, what are the various types of materials available? As you can see in the slide, there are materials available such as stone, brick, metal like galvanized iron, SS, plastic, elastic in the market for the purpose to connect as a wall tie. One can see the photographs of various types of ties available in market which require to suit different purposes, details and conditions of various cavity wall construction. But the most important aspects to observe from here is the central drip, which can be created by bending the wall tie or adding additional material to stop water intruding from external wall to the inner wall and getting it drip in the center of the cavity. This slide demonstrates the arrangement of tie within a cavity wall. So tie generally sandwiched between courses of bricks on both sides of wall, inner and outer. In general case scenario, they are fixed with mortar, but in some cases they can be screwed or nailed as per the wall leaves and the insulation fill. They are generally fixed in length and thickness, but there are adjustable ties also which are available in market to accommodate the fluctuation of cavity gap. Means the gap which sometimes vary while construction, you can adjust it by using the adjustable ties. And as per sometimes the detail evolve with time of the design consideration. So the insulation thickness varies, that the wall leaves changes. So there are adjustable tie for the same purpose. Features like central plastic cap, which you can see in the right corner image, to drip the water and help fix the insulation at one side of the wall. Similarly, there can be more features available as per requirements, but in general cases, the basic tie must avoid some faults. There are some basic faults which have been observed in cavity wall construction related to the placement of tie, which should be avoided to have an efficient cavity wall construction. The first fault observed is about the placement, that it should be placed perfectly horizontal. It means that it should not make any angle with the wall. First, to avoid the water traveling through the slope because of the angle created, and second, it also weakens the cavity wall composition and does not let the wall perform in case of earthquake or any other severe load or pressure. The second fault observed is the placement of central drip towards the upward side, which does not let the drip serve its purpose of dripping the water in cavity. So it always and must be placed downwards to let the water shed right in the center of the cavity. The third fault observed is that placement of wall tie at one side means that it should be kept centrally and not touching any of the side to avoid any drip touching any side of the wall and letting the water seeping through it. The impact created by placing it is of course the water drip through the tie, and second impact is on the structure, as one side of the wall tie has larger overlap. On contrary, the other side have smaller or partial tie length, which makes it weak in the overall composition or the structure. Wall tie should be adequately placed in numbers throughout the cavity wall to keep the two walls together. They should be equally distributed within the wall configuration. The basic placement suggests that the wall tie should be placed horizontally 450 mm apart and 900 mm apart vertically from each other. Generally, wall ties are placed at every sixth course and staggeredly positioned for better connection, so that there should be at least two tie given for an wall area of about 1 square meter. However, whenever there are punctuations like window, door, ventilator, more ties are recommended for better connection. As one can see in the elevation given, where the placement of wall ties are highlighted by yellow rings, there are more and close ties placed near windows and doors, but wall ties are placed distantly in the other areas. So it is always recommended to have more ties in cavity wall construction. But in special cases and purposes like sound insulation, placing more ties can be avoided, which generally behave like physical medium for sound to pass from one end to the another. Now the third component of cavity wall, that is used for drainage and flashing purposes. The purpose of the component is suggested within the name itself, is that it helps to drain off the water collected at various levels and divert it towards the exit or weep openings. For this purpose, the metal sheet or rubberized thick sheet has been used to divert the water. They are generally placed at various levels of walls, like right above the lintel to stop the water moving towards the window or door. They are also placed at the bottom to drain the water collected and slip it out of the cavity. There are certain aspects which one needs to observe and note about the flashing component. Is first that they should be placed at an angle so that no water collect on it, and secondly it should be attached to the exit given for the water, like weep holes or weep vents, etc. The exit also should be carefully placed, as one can see in the photograph of this inclined roof on the rightmost corner. The rubberized sheet used as flashing component has been carefully securing the eave and dropping the water collected and coming from above the cavity wall, which has been directly moved towards the gutter of the inclined roof. The angle which is proposed can be achieved by bending in case of metal sheet as flashing component, and for rubberized thick sheet one can make that angular slope using the mortar to attach the rubber sheet and get the desired angle. Now one can see in these two sections the placement of flashing component within the cavity wall and the exit marked as weep hole right next to it. Now let's talk about the weep holes or the weep openings. So there are primarily three kinds of weep openings. First is the hole type, which is the very common and frequently used one. Second and third type are the thin vertical vent which are being left out of the brick in order to let the water drain off from the cavity. There can be fixtures available to create the vent, but in some cases the perpend has been left without the mortar which serve the purpose of the water getting drained from the opening. This slide clearly demonstrates the three types of weep vents I already mentioned, which are made out of plastic and metal to have an efficient channel for water to drain off. As you can see in the left top corner image, a black flashing component is visible with two types of weep openings. Left hand side is a vertical plastic weep vent having equal height to the brick course, but the one in the right side of white color is not restricted with the height. It collects the water and drip it through the hole towards the outer side. The three supporting images can help you understand the placement of weep holes or weep vents with the bricks. These are basically sandwiched between the two bricks and fixed with the mortar. The third image, where a rodent or a rat is trying to enter through the weep opening, demonstrate the various closing fixtures available to stop any insect or rodent or similar kind of a creature to get inside, but let the water drain off from the wall. Another important component of cavity wall is air bricks. The purpose of air bricks are to provide air within the cavity. They help to keep the cavity wall ventilated and dry off the moisture trapped inside the cavity wall by the movement of the air. They help to provide and become entry and exit points for moving air, and their placements are important in order to have proper movements or air within the gap. In case of improper placement, the cavity wall may have some portion which does not receive any air, and therefore the moisture does not dry off. There is a suggested placement which says that they have to be kept at the lowest and highest edge of the cavity wall. However, one must place it as per the design of the wall and the configuration suggested by the designer. You can see there are two types of air brick shown in the slide. First is the cast iron brick, second is the terracotta type of air brick. The two can have variants available in market, design wise, shape and size wise, but they has to be understood in terms of application and economical attributes. Now the second most important component without which the cavity wall will lose its basic composition or even say the identity. That is the cavity itself, or we can say the air gap, which is being created by spacing the two leaves separated or kept apart. In basic composition, this third layer between the two solid wall is of air, but in more advanced composition or for specific purposes like thermal insulation or sound insulation, an insulating material has been filled in between these two walls. As it is clearly demonstrated in the image on the left side, the wall has cavity filled just with the air. However, on the right side, the image shows an insulating material kept between the outer leaf and the inner leaf. The purpose of this component is to break the chain of passing or transiting things from one end to another. This discontinuity achieved by the layer helps to control external intrusion from outer leaf to inner leaf. The size of the layer is highly dependent on purpose or the material fill, but generally it can range between 40 to 100 mm or guided by the specific design considerations. The insulation can be of various materials, from basic mineral or rock wool to polystyrene braid or thermocol. They have various properties to resist heat or dampening sound or resisting fire depending on the function specified for cavity wall construction. We have reached to the last very important component which helps to protect the cavity wall from dampness and block any kind of seepage possible. That is DPC, or we call damp proof course. First, one must understand all the sources from where the water can possibly come, either by capillary action or through direct ingress or through indirect seepage. So, in cavity wall construction, DPC should be provided at all the openings and channels which can transfer or allow the transfer of water or moisture inside the cavity wall. DPC can be of various materials, which is essentially a non-permeable layer to stop the water seepage and going further on. As one can see in the first image, a black non-permeable membrane has been placed on both inner and outer leaf at same course, with a yellow plastic sheet to stop seepage along the inner wall, which is used as a vertical DPC. However, the black sheets are working as a horizontal membrane, which is there. So the vertical DPC, the yellow membrane, is there to protect the inner leaf from possible dampness caused by the water collected at the bottom of cavity wall, or which can further infiltrate inside the wall. Another point to notice here is the substantial overlap which is required between the DPC layers whenever they are coming from different courses. Otherwise, the point of intersection will become the weak points which can let the water go and seep through the junction. The second or the middle image, where the black bitumen layer can be seen, which is placed right above the air brick. Here represent the horizontal DPC placed at the bottom. In the third image, one can see the thin silver layer right behind the insulating foam and the outer wall, which is behaving like a vertical DPC, blocking the water ingress from the sides. However, we will discuss the details of placements in further segment of the presentation. Other components are also there which has some roles in the cavity wall construction, like cavity closer, which are practiced these days in contemporary construction, which are required but one can say not essential for construction to happen. However, we have included them in the further segment, which we will talk when we move in the presentation. Now let's move to the final segment of this presentation. So, as we have already learned about the essential components and their role in the cavity wall construction, let's understand the construction technique and assembly details which are required in order to have an efficient cavity wall construction. So, as mentioned in the slide, there are certain sensitive areas which require special details or arrangements. More specifically, there are details required at foundation level, at window or door or any opening level, and at last where the cavity ends, that is the parapet level, where a special kind of construction details are required in order to stop any ingress of any external intrusion possible in the cavity construction. Before moving towards the construction technique, let's learn some good and essential practices or consideration during construction processes on site. So the first point is the two walls should be constructed simultaneously. It means that they should eventually grow together in height. Second point says that the DPC should be kept separately, and it should be thoroughly given across the courses, and both walls have separate DPC layers at the same level in order to block the water at the similar finish level. Third point talks about the provision of temporary opening by leaving some bricks unfixed, which can further help to clean the cavity wall after completion of work, and at last we can fix those particular bricks with the mortar after the completion. The fourth point talks about the removal of mortar using the wooden battens. So the mason can hang the wooden battens in the cavity using ties, which help to collect the mortar dropping inside while construction, and can be taken out by pulling those battens using the wires or ropes which were basically used to hang those wooden batten inside the cavity. Construction detail at bottommost level of cavity means at the foundation level. You can see there are two types of foundations illustrated on which the cavity wall has been constructed. Before explaining the details, let's understand the areas from where the water can enter possibly. First is the penetration possible through the soil surrounding the foundation itself. And second, the water drip down and collected at the bottom of cavity, which must be drawn out, otherwise it will start making the inner wall wet. As the outer wall is already drenched in water, the water will start moving towards the dry side of the wall. Now what are the provisions which are required to save the wall getting damped? First, the water must not be collected as explained at the bottommost level. It should be immediately drawn towards outside using weep holes or weep vents, which one can see in the left section. Horizontal DPC should be provided on both wall or leaves in order to stop the already soaked water traveling up by capillary action, which one can see being highlighted by a dotted yellow line in both sections. Then the vertical DPC is required towards the inner side of inner wall, which is not provided and given in the case represented here. One can ask why. It is because the penetration has been blocked by the concrete itself, which is not giving any point or junction for water to move inside the house. It can either go towards the weep opening or get absorbed by wall and then to the earth around it. Here the learning is that the properly made concrete can be used as DPC or damp proof course. Concrete has properties which can partially stop the penetration. However, if given with the waterproofing admixtures, we can enhance its non-permeability properties, makes it perfect for DPC conditions. Now in first case shown, the foundation is of concrete bed. The cavity is extended right till the bottom. However, it is being filled by concrete till the outer finish level. In the second case explained, the brick foundation has been given for the wall, but in this case the cavity is not extended till the base, but it has been stopped at 150 mm below the outer finish level or ground level. In both cases, the horizontal DPC layers on the two walls should be kept at least 150 mm high from ground level. The thickness of concrete slab will further decide if the provision of vertical DPC is required or not. I elaborate this specific point. So in case of concrete foundation, let's presume the inner slab shown here have lesser thickness, then it will eventually be not touching the horizontal DPC on upper side and probably does not touch the filled concrete in between the cavity, which is behaving like DPC. Then the scenario will be that the water either move towards the inner edge or reach the room, or it will move towards the soil through the wall, which is not very desirable. In such case, the intrusion of water has to be blocked by vertical DPC. In second case of brick foundation, the cavity should be at least 150 mm below the damp proof course for the purpose of letting the collected water drain downwards and to avoid any condensed moisture. Similarly, the bottom of cavity should lie at least 150 mm above the outside ground level. Here the DPC in this case has been laid separately and air brick has been provided immediately above the DPC course. Observation or point of consideration is that in case of brick foundation, we are letting the water go and drain in the soil itself by using the porosity of brick material, and DPC has been used just to block the water upwards. However, in the case of concrete, we have blocked the passage and letting the water go towards the exit or the outer side of the ground. Now, construction details required at openings given within the cavity wall, like windows, doors, ventilators, which eventually break the continuity of construction and expose the cavity or reveal the opening at various levels. So, there are three situations which arises in openings, like first at the bottom level, which is generally the sill or base of the opening, the top or the upper level where the lintel has to be given, and the vertical sides or the jambs of the opening which where the window or the door frames need to be fixed. So at lintel level, let's start from the top. At lintel level, a stone or a brick arch or a concrete lintel can be built to carry the load from structure above the opening, and that load can easily distributed by making two separate lintels or separate arches. However, one can prefer to have a common lintel to bridge the cavity in between. So, for the water coming from top, one must provide sufficient DPC member in order to protect that lintel. So, a flashing element of metal sheet or a rubberized sheet can be given right above the lintel to direct the water towards the weep opening or the exit. You can see in the right top corner image where a bended metal sheet has been placed on top of the eye girder, which is working like the lintel here. Minimum 2 weep holes have been given or marked here for each opening, keeping at a maximum distance of 450 mm apart to let the water go away from the cavity. The lintel cavity tray, which is painted with the damp proof paint, is basically nothing but the flashing component which work like a DPC as well. It should be extended beyond the opening on each side by at least 150 mm. As you can see it in the image, right in the center, as elevation shows, where the dotted yellow line clearly demonstrates the extension of the flashing component. This lintel cavity tray should be projected 25 mm or more beyond the outer face of the cavity closure as well. However, in contrast to this arrangement, the image at the right below corner shows another possibility where there is no flashing component but a non-permeable black plastic or a rubberized sheet has been given or placed on an angle box channel, which is serving both the purpose of directing the water towards the weep hole and stopping the dampness. The required angle has been created by the box kept below the non-permeable membrane. Now one can see in the section given the placement of DPC layer in order to avoid the water dripping on window or door lintel or further damaging it. The points considered here is that the DPC layer should be placed as a single or one. It must not be separated like we did in the foundation level. It should be preferably placed at an angle to divert water towards the opening. Sufficient exit opening in form of weep holes or weep vents should be given along with the DPC layer right above the lintel layer. The weep fixtures can be placed such that they should be protruded a little outwards to avoid dripping water directly at the lintel face. Another horizontal DPC marked with two dotted yellow lines at the sill level can be seen in the image, which are required to stop the penetration from below of the window or the opening. So at the bottom of opening or at sill level, the cavity should be properly closed and no water should be allowed to pass through it. Otherwise it will of course damage the window or the door frame. To avoid this intrusion, the sill can be made of concrete itself, how we have discussed in case of foundation details. But in case of using the bricks should be given on edge, and they should be placed right at the course below the sill level. By doing so and by virtue of its placement, a little protrusion or notch has been created in the section to keep the rainwater away from the cavity wall below. You can see and relate this thing in the image left top corner where the blue dotted lines representing the rainwater which is not able to reach the cavity right below the brick on edge. We must use engineering bricks or well-burnt bricks for the purpose, and they have to withstand the severe external weather conditions. Mortar used for the same purpose should be of 1:3 ratio, which will make it non-porous and high in strength, which will behave equal to the bricks. However, by not doing so or not using a good or a proper mortar, one can create passage for water to seep through those perpends or mortar joints. A firm DPC layer should be given right below the brick on edge course, which should be extended to the window frame or the closer material. The points to consider here are that the cavity wall should not be built solid at the jambs, but rather they should be closed properly and sealed at the sides. The openings can be closed by two methods. First, using the cavity closer, and second, using the wall itself. The cavity closers can be constructed either square or riveted, which can help to close the cavity by using a suitable frame. Otherwise, the cavity can be closed by returning the inner leaf towards the outer leaf, means the wall itself. In both the cases, the opening must be secured by a vertical DPC to prevent the moisture from passing through. The vertical DPC can be of various materials available in market. They should be in form of a sheet which help to wrap and secure the jamb properly. The image given on the rightmost side shows the use of polystyrene sheet as vertical DPC in the cross section. This slide shows various types of cavity closer which are practiced and available. In basic construction, a wooden batten can be used to close the cavity, and then the frame of window can be fixed on top of it. But there are some standalone cavity closers as well, which are available and can be efficient in complex construction and help to fix the window or door better. This Particular type of factory-made cavity closure can be fixed while construction or after construction depending upon the design requirements. We can see in the images, the left top image shows the use of steel subframe to close the cavity, which has further details to fix actual window frame. The image below it shows the use of wall as a cavity closer, how we discussed in the previous slide. The central image shows cavity closer which has to be fixed during construction, as there are attachments which needs to be fixed between the wall courses and with the using the mortar. The right top image shows cavity closer which can adjust post construction as well. The image on the right below corner is the basic wooden batten closer which we have already talked about. For the uppermost level of cavity, which is at parapet level, the cavity gets closed by the coping member, which can be of various shape and sizes and of various materials depending upon the design. In case of flat roof, the cavity may go up to the coping level or can end before, but has to remain cavity till the immediate floor level. In case of sloping or a pitched roof, the cavity is made closed at the level of eaves. Whenever the cavity is extending up to the bottom of coping, the DPC course is provided between the bottom of coping and the top of the cavity. When the cavity is restricted just above the flat roof, the DPC is required to be provided over the top of the cavity. The upper part of the wall where it ends may be built solid for 2 or 3 courses below the wall plate or roof line to stiffen the head of the wall and distribute the load over both leaves, as one can see in the section right in the center. Damp proof course or DPC is laid alongside the full thickness of the wall at a level where the cavity joins the solid component, as you can see in the both sections. In case of solid parapet specifically, wall may develop cracks due to thermal variations and various other external conditions. On contrary, the cavity wall construction have 2 separate walls which eventually have less intrusion from any kind, and each segment of wall is exposed partially, as it is only exposed from one side. In the details section at right side of the slide, one can clearly understand the relation and placement of wall with the concrete slab and the beam below, which is an important junction to detail. As you can see, the beam width is more than the wall thickness, and to keep the internal side free of any tuck, the internal wall is proposed to be kept on inner edge, making the beam coming out in the cavity side and created a protrusion. This protrusion is very critical to protect from water. Once the water reaches inside the cavity, the water will start setting on the beam and will eventually damage the beam, or to say the whole structural system. So it is clearly demonstrated in the image only that the bituminous compound used as DPC here is thoroughly covering the extension of beam along with the wall above, making sure that the water gets dripped inside the cavity. Additionally, one can see there is a drip created in the concrete beam edge to drip the water in the cavity. So that's it. We have covered all the essential details of cavity wall construction to make it efficient and better system. Similarly, one can develop their own construction detail by understanding the possible channels of water and give appropriate provision which best suit their design. Thank you.